No, no, I'm saying possible existence exists. We accept that. We exist, right? We're talking right now, and we are possible existence. There's nothing
Um,
necessary about our existence, right? We accept that
mhm,
fact, right? So
mhm.
based on these observations and everything around us, we arrive at a necessary being. Because if the things would have only been possible, then the infinite regress problem would, I mean, drag us into the quagmire of a fallacy, infinite
Mhm.
regress fallacy, which is an
So,
impossibility, which is a
I,
logical
my
impossibility. To
question is,
avoid the consequences,
how did we get to an intelligent necessary being? Could it not be an unintelligent necessary
well,
being?
let's first accept that necessary being exists, which is beyond space, time, and
I
matter. Let's accept
I
that,
can't do
and
that.
then we'll talk about intelligence, right?
I to be completely honest with you, I will give it to you for conversation's sake, but I can't accept that.
Why? Why is it? I mean, just explain.
For
Let's have a free talk. Like, let's
okay,
forget about everything. Let's have a free talk.
so you said that the necessary being exists and that we are not necessary existence, which you told me before that anything exists, and I don't know, I hope this is recorded so we can go back and be able to see what was said earlier in here. But you had made a claim that anything that exists is dependent on something else. So I brought up the necessary being that you're talking about, and you said it exists, but that doesn't need to be contingent or dependent on
No,
something else, which
I
is
think
what I would
you
call
no, no. I think you
I would call that
misunderstood.
as special pleading,
No, no, no.
saying
I
that
think you
everything is
misunderstood. What
necessary.
I meant was that things around us, everything around us is a possible existence, and we accept that, right? Everything around us is a possible existence. There is nothing necessary about anything that exists around us, including ourselves. Like, we could conceptualize of its non-being. Like, it was not necessary for me to have existed, right? My
Yes, hold
parents
on.
would have
Can I
not
can I
met.
pause for a second? I actually kind of want to back you up on this. I'm looking at the comments here, and I did see Jay Soprano. He said, "Has your God showed up? Otherwise, this is just personal experience BS that could be used to justify faith in anything, including magic and unicorns." Jay, I do know that that comes up sometimes, but Muhammad is not. He has not said anything about personal experience or faith or anything like that right now. He is simply going over his views on a philosophical argument for a necessary being to exist. So he hasn't fallen into any. Trust me, I would have already called him out by now on it if he was using personal experience to try and prove God. He hasn't done that yet, so and that's why we're having this really good conversation right now, is because he has not said I have faith that this exists. We will get there because I do assure you that Muhammad requires faith to believe what he does. But
But
right
I
now we're
think
just looking at philosophy
faith
right
has been, understood in variety of different ways. But let's not get into that for now. Let's stick to the topic, right?
now. Yeah, I
I
just
think,
wanted to address Jay
yeah,
and
sure.
kind of back you up, saying, hey,
Thank
you
you.
weren't going off of personal experience.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So what I said was everything around us, including ourselves, is possible, is not necessary. Necessary is that which is impossible to have existed otherwise, right?
Mhm.
Which is
Yeah.
impossible for it to have not existed. And things around us doesn't have that sort of nature. We could conceptualize of its non-being, including ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
that's a possible existence, right? Where you can
Mhm.
conceptualize a different scene, where the thing doesn't have to exist in a way it exists, right? So we take basic example, like this cup, right? So this cup is a possible existence. Why is it a possible existence? Because it could have not existed, right? The manufacturer would have not made it, right?
Mhm.
Its building blocks could have been, set up in a different way. Yeah, do you get what I'm saying? So the
Yeah.
cup would have not existed. In the same
Okay.
manner, this phone would have not existed. The
Yeah.
manufacturer would have not made it. Its basic
Yeah.
material would have been arranged in a different way, so the phone would have not existed. In the same way, anything. I mean, I can give you example of anything which is a possible existence
Mhm.
around. So
Yes.
possible
So
existence.
I would say that there's nothing in our reality that is a necessary existence, because the universe itself is not necessary to exist. And if the
Absolutely.
universe is not necessary to exist, there could be no universe.
Definitely.
Whatever's here could have not been
That's
here.
where I'm getting it. Yes, absolutely. So exist, right?
Mhm.
Because of its existence, because of the existence of cup, we need to have an explanation, right? The law, the principle of sufficient reason demands is that we tend to
Yes.
explain everything. Do you get what I'm saying? Because now we have got the universe. Let's understand why does it exist. So if it is not necessary, then something must have brought it into existence, like the cup, right? So it's a possible existence. The manufacturer brought it into existence. It was not it was non-existence existent before. Now it exists.
Question.
It's because of the cause or something else which is outside of its
Question.
itself. Do you get what I'm saying?
So, so you said it must have had been brought into existence by an intelligence.
No, no. For now, do you accept that the universe is possible existence? There has to be something necessary. Do you accept that? If you accept that, I
Um,
would be more than happy to go into the into the consciousness kind of thing.
if we're kind of going towards like the kalam, whatever begins to exist
No, it's a different thing.
has a cause.
I mean, yeah, that have the that argument does have the potential as well, but this argument is
Hmm.
slightly different. It's actually built up by Avicenna, Ibn Sina, in the medieval time, and I think this argument is unbreakable. No philosopher have ever broken this argument. This is the unbreakable
Hmm.
classical theistic argument. Yes, Kalam may have criticism to it, which I think is not like a valid criticism. Let's grant that to Kalam, right? But this argument, I don't think it has a breaker. So that's the reason I brought this in, because I know that Kalam may have had some loophole somewhere,
Hmm.
even though I don't believe it is valid, but still I
Yeah.
give
See,
it
see,
that to the audience.
the issue within the argument that you just presented is that when you were talking about the cup, you said it must have had an origin. It must have had something that created it.
Yeah, something that
How did
was
you rule
it,
out? So if we're comparing that to everything else in existence, how did you rule out a natural existence? How were you able to
because
test that?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
because
understand that philosophical arguments are good and all, but at the end of the day, we are pattern seeking humans. Our brains are very biased, and we like to grab conclusions and make the facts match it, wrap the facts around it to match it. So when we're using philosophical arguments, we're simply using the brain that we cannot trust. So how do we tether the scientific method into these philosophical arguments to confirm
no,
what we're thinking is
I
actually
think
true?
you have made a great mistake there. You said that you can't trust your brain. I mean, how could you rely upon something you can't really trust, right? That's
Mhm.
actually what you said
So
philosophically.
when a car
But
accident happens and
yeah,
people
definitely,
think,
definitely. I'll give that you. But the problem, I mean, it will backfire on you because science has to have a presupposition of rationality first. Then only you could conduct science. I mean, you would have to have
well, I mean,
rationality. You'd have to trust
we
your rationality.
presuppose the laws of logic.
Absolutely. I mean, so therefore we accept something, certainly, right? Like
Yes,
Descartes, what
that
Descartes said, I
presupposition
think,
is
therefore I exist.
that presupposition exists
I
due
don't even
to
think it's
inductive
a
reasoning.
presupposition. I think these are basic first principles. It does not need any external
No,
argument. It's
what
just
I'm
an
saying,
a
my
priori principle.
presupposition on the logic are based on inductive reasoning.
Well, that would also be based on the inductive reasoning. I mean, inductive reasoning based upon inductive reasoning is just begging the question, because if you're laws of logic is based upon inductive reasoning, then your inductive reasoning would necessarily be based upon inductive reasoning. So it's just begging the question fallacy. I mean, something you'll have to accept first as a premise, as a valid thing on which you could build your belief system. I mean, if you're going to question the laws of logic, and I'm sorry, I mean, you would enter.
How is gathering evidence? How is gathering evidence using inductive reasoning begging the question?
Well, gathering evidence requires first the laws of rationality. I mean, that's a necessary basement first to build the empirical belief system, right? So you'll have to have the laws of rationality first, then you can go out, analyze the pattern, seek explanation, right? That would even be based upon the laws of rationality. So the laws of rationality are the first principles. And on that, you could construct whether you want to construct your material building or a conceptual building or like intuitive building, right? But the laws of rationality are the first basic principles, which does not require any external explanation. Getting my point?
I'm getting your claim, but I'm not seeing how that's the only route that we can take here. I want to know how you excluded all other variables.
All right. Let's get to the basics, right? Let's adopt the Cartesian philosophy for now, right? Let's accept certain things, right? First, right? What do you first accept? I mean, where do you start?
Where do I start with what?
Yeah, what I mean is like, what do you accept basically? I mean, what do you first accept based on which you construct your belief building? What do you first accept?
So my foundation, I presuppose my existence. I presuppose that I exist. I am not a hard solipsist.
Do you consider that presupposition as valid? I mean, as a truth?
If that's what you want to call it a truth, I don't claim anything within an absolute certainty.
What? Sorry, I didn't understand what you're saying.
I do not claim anything to be an absolute certainty. I presuppose my existence to a certain point, but I could be wrong.
All right.
And I have not found a way to eliminate that variable.
Do you think that you think? Do you think that you think?
I think, therefore I am. Yes, I know that.
Okay, so is that certain? Is that certain?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you accept
I'm
something.
Absolutely sure of that.
No, you'll have to be absolutely sure about something first. Then we could, build upon that. I mean,
I'm not absolutely sure about anything.
Brother, hold on. If you're gonna doubt the basic first foundations of existence, then I'm sorry. No matter how long the discussion is gonna be, no matter how many days would it take, how many books would it take you to read, you're never gonna arrive at anything, because eventually you could come up and say that, look, I accept nothing for absolute, right? You get what I'm saying? Even if I were to, put forth all the rational rules, all the rational arguments for the existence of God, you would come up and say, look, brother, I don't trust my rationality. So, you just have to accept
I don't. That's why I use the scientific method and metering devices that are not biased like my brain, and then I can
is based upon the laws of rationality. So